Hello everyone, this is part 10 of What If Naruto Was Abused and Obtained Mokuton, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Sasuke, Naruto called, seeing Sasuke walk through the passages of the Hokage Tower. The Uchiha halted his movement and turned to face Naruto. Highbrow rose curiously before asking, "You were also called?" "Yeah," Naruto nodded. An Anbu had showed up, told him he was wanted in the Hokage office. He'd been firm on the, now. A mission possibly. They didn't just crawl out of their shadows just for normal calls. Naruto hoped it was something that would alleviate his boredom. What do you think it's about? A mission most likely, Orochimaru perhaps. The Sannin seemed to have the village on its feet, scrambling for balance and the right method to erase his existence while he actively plotted against it. Thought so, Sasuke smiled. While I doubt they would send us out to face Orochimaru, it would be a good thing to test myself against a Sannin. They are supposed to be stronger than your normal S-rank shinobi. Cage-level shinobi, but there are a few exceptions. Not all S-rank shinobi are equal. And the Sannin are not equal either. Jiraiya claims in his full power, he can fight two S-rank criminals by himself. The Toad Sage never lacked any confidence. He was by no means a man riding on the bloated arrogance of being hailed as one of the legendary Sannin. Sage power was tremendous. It put one above the normal means. Its strength unparalleled. Certainly, there was no human who could match it with normal means. Then again, if there was anything men feared, it was natural disasters. And how do you march against him? Sasuke asked with narrowed eyes. Always wanting to test himself. A freak of competition. Naruto hoped it wouldn't become anything comedic and obsessive as the rivalry with Guy and Kakashi. At least between the two, there was no jealousy. They respected each other. But Sasuke was a junkie high on emotions. Knock him off his Uchiha arrogance and you'll see flames. Inwardly, he sighed. What a child. But a very deadly child who could become a nuisance if he reacted negatively to the news his elder brother was going to tell him. While he didn't say it, Naruto had a feeling Itachi had no desire to tell his brother what to do. He just wanted to tell him the truth, for once. As he made his choice, he wanted Sasuke to make a choice. Yet pushing all the responsibilities on handling the fallout on him. He frowned thinking about it. A cruel bastard who didn't want to stop his brother himself but would rather someone do it because he just wanted to love. Ah, how it must be nice to be loved. Surely, Itachi loved his brother more than anything else. To murder even his own mother and leave his little brother. And want to die by his own hand, leaving him with power even he wouldn't claim. The latter part has been achieved. The former remained. Sweet death. Naruto would never aspire to be like Itachi. The man killed his own mother. For whatever reasons there, it was a despicable act. If he was going to leave Sasuke, he could have left his mother alive as well. Villages were truly dark entities. They were demanding. People sacrificed everything and anything for them. The love for one's village was unhealthy if you could sacrifice everything for it. But such was the world they lived in. A flawed and corrupt system of shinobi that was ruled by power and power alone. And a bit of blood just to appease the ancestors who killed and killed just because it was their natural way of life. Realizing he'd spaced out, Naruto waved his right hand dismissively. "If you want to find out, challenge him for a sparring session," he replied casually. "I'm sure he'd be interested in seeing your strength firsthand just to be safe that the village will be in secure hands in the future." He added as he knocked at the door. "Come in." Naruto opened the door and stepped in. Sasuke closed it behind him. What neither were expecting to see was Danzo and Sai waiting for them in the office of the Sandaime Hokage. But neither so much as showed any outward reaction but faced the third. "You called for us," Naruto said in a casual tone. "Ah, yes," Hiruzen replied with a smile. "We have information regarding Kabuto. And your fellow clan member, Naruto." Naruto's eyes didn't exactly lit up hearing about this. Kabuto, he was more than ready to murder. But Karen was another story. "You found her?" "Yes. Danzo has found that she was seen recently returning to the Sound with Kabuto. I am sending you to retrieve Kabuto. He must be brought back alive. If there is someone who knows Orochimaru, it is him." I'm sending you too because we don't know what threats may arise. You'll be going with Sai here. He knows someone who has been eyes for Danzo in the Sound. He will lead you to this person. It is for utmost importance that Kabuto is brought back alive. Hiruzen's eyes sharpened. Your primary goal is to retrieve him. He must not be killed. The third didn't have to say it. The unspoken message was pounded into his understanding clearly. He wasn't to focus on Karen. She came secondary. The brutal reality of the world they lived in. He could say Karen was family, but over her, Konoha had to come first. It was logical. Yet what Naruto considered unfair was that he had to bring Kabuto alive. That sadist bastard defiled his mother's grave. He deserved death. That is a tough one. I have to agree with Naruto, Sasuke said. Do you two question my orders? Of course, not. Naruto was quick to say. Then you understood me. Kabuto must not be killed. Understood, Hokage-sama. Failure will not be tolerated. Danzo said, speaking in a hardened tone. Orochimaru is a dangerous person. If we get his number 2, we close on him. And we will soon apprehend him. If you come across him, you are to kill him. This will go a long way to prove your usefulness too. Danzo. Hiruzen cut off the Warhawk. Leave the office. You've done what you're supposed to do. Go with Sai. He must be at the village gates by 3 p.m. to depart with the others. Danzo glared but left without a word. He hated being cut off like that. He hated the way Hiruzen just treated him. Surely, the man didn't trust him. If Jiraiya hadn't corroborated his intelligence, Hiruzen wouldn't have believed him. Even if he has been vocal since day one about getting rid of Orochimaru. At the door, he glanced at the 2 weapons and nodded inwardly. They were indeed going to be useful for the Leaf. But not in the coming battle. They would work for him. Once Danzo was gone, Hiruzen released a long breath and then smiled. Don't mind Danzo. Don't mind him. Naruto wanted to scoff but he kept to himself. With what he now knew, he was going to walk around that man with eyes on his back and his shields at full capacity. That man was dangerous. And surely the Sandaime knew that. Naruto only assumed the only reason Danzo has not used his genjutsu against the old man was because it was something that could be discovered. Then again, Itachi said it wasn't something that could be used on a whim like normal genjutsu. It did take time to recharge. Is his information true? Sasuke asked. Kakashi had already warned him of the Warhawk and just how dangerous he was. Yes. Jiraiya has confirmed Kabuto was seen. Hiruzen nodded. I have my reservations about sending you out. But I suppose you need this. In any case, I want you to watch Sai for me. Danzo has obviously sent him with another mission in mind. If he does something, take the necessary steps. Hi. And Naruto. The feudal lord will arrive tomorrow. By the time you return, you may be known as Minato's son. Great. I'm sorry I cannot shield you from this one. Naruto shook his head. Bitterly, the Sandaime couldn't shield him from anything. Despite his best wishes, when it came to protecting him, the Sandaime has all but failed dismissively. I understand the situation. It was going to come out anyway. It can be used to my advantage. And it only means I have to work harder, Naruto grunted. Somehow, he was similar to Sasuke. It was best they were friends. They truly could understand each other. Itachi did what he did for the village. His father did what he did for the village. Someone ends up being hated for it. Ungrateful people surrounded them. If they really plotted to see this village that has survived on the sacrifices of their loved ones, they could bring it to its knees. And that was not just a pipe dream. They both had the power. Good thing for Konoha, Naruto was not that cold-hearted and devoid of emotion and a moral compass. He would admit, morality was misplaced in a world governed by kill or be killed. Kakashi certainly sought to preach differently, but practicality, he played by those principles of the shinobi world. Good. It is very important you succeed. And if you come across members of the Akatsuki, don't engage. You have one task and you have to do it. Understood. Once they left tower and stepped into the streets, Sasuke finally spoke. I've never asked, but how does it feel to know that this village has only spat on the sacrifices of your parents? Sasuke asked, his eyes watching Naruto like a hawk. Bitter, if I must admit. It's not even funny. But this is the world we live in and it is what secrets do. Of course, Sasuke wouldn't be laughing when he learns of his own sacrifices. One day, you'll be in my position and we can talk about it. For now, you cannot understand it. Sasuke snorted. Don't be late. Boom. Naruto exclaimed, poking Ino on the sides of her chest after sneaking in behind her while focused on her job. Arg. She jumped, turning around, tossing over the jug of water she held. Naruto laughed, moving back to avoid getting jabbed. She looked so frightened. You'd think a frightening beast had just whispered death into her ears. Seeing him laugh, she glared and took a step closer to him before hitting him on his right shoulder. That wasn't funny. With a smile, Naruto replied. From where I'm standing, it was. Ino glared. How the hell had he sneaked in behind her? Had she been so absorbed in her thoughts that she couldn't even hear him? It wasn't like it was the first time something like that has happened. But with civilians. To her senses, they were as silent as a leaf dropping to the rot. Naruto was hardly silent. She calmed her heart and then glanced at the puddle of water on the floor. At least, no flower pot fell. She would have made him compensate for it. She turned her eyes back at him and then spoke. What are you doing here? Her eyes went just above his right shoulder. There was a scroll on his back. It was almost folded like the sheath of a sword. Naruto folded his hands across his chest. I came to check up on you. I haven't seen you since you ran from me. I didn't run, something just came up. Naruto laughed. Well, do share. I was offended. Yeah, right. Ino rolled her eyes. If you came to see me, help me out clean this and water the flowers. This is your fault anyway. Naruto raised right hand. I wish, but I actually came here to say I'm off. Won't be hanging out with your friends. I didn't want leave without saying anything in case you complain again. Ino folded her hands across her chest. It was back to this again. Once he started digging into missions, there was no end to it. She too was going to be out with her team. It was better when someone was always around. Oh, it slipped out. How long? You never know. A week at least. Naruto replied and then moved closer, leaning in. You're not going to miss me, are you? Ino didn't back away. When she could feel his breath. When his piercing eyes were just inches away from hers. She stared back. Who'd miss you? Naruto stepped back, and then smiled. Good then. See you when I come back. He said, walking away. Ino watched him leave without uttering a word. When he was just about to exit the shop, she called. Be safe. Sasuke had his eyes closed, leaning against the village wall just by the gates. He was waiting for Naruto. Sai was just a couple of feet away from him. The pale teenager had tried talking to him, but Sasuke had ignored him. He had nothing to say than count the seconds it took just waiting for Naruto. It wasn't yet time, but they were still waiting and he was counting how long the blonde made them wait. It didn't take long for him to sense Naruto. He was walking toward them. Was it stroll? He didn't seem to be in any hurry. When the blonde did arrive, Sasuke took note of the fact that the blonde didn't carry a bag with him. You do know we might take a couple of days. Given we are leaving at this time, we'll have to rest up tonight and reach the sound tomorrow. My dear friend, I am Uzumaki. We carry sealing scrolls with us, Naruto replied with a wave of his right hand. Sasuke shook his head. Just so we're clear, I'm team leader and you will all follow my instructions. Who made you leader? I'm ranked higher than you. Sasuke replied, pointing at him. He pointed at Sai, is irrelevant. Pulling rank. But the Uchiha was not false. Naruto turned to Sai and then watched him carefully. He'd never seen him display any emotion. Not even once. Were all of Danzo's forces like that? Either way, they were doing this mission together as a team. He would have to work together. So, Sai, you're part of the team. I hope you will behave as part of the team. That means watching our backs. The objective is the mission. I can't be watching your back while focused on the mission. Naruto sighed. He wasn't going to bother with this. Hear that, Sasuke? Only you have my back. Sasuke just smiled. Isn't it the usual? Naruto shared the smile. Indeed. He agreed. Well, let us. Since this one is the navigator, let him take charge of the journey. Sasuke nodded. Lead the way. Keep up. Sai replied, hopping away to the trees. Predictably, the two were behind him, silent and focused. Sai couldn't believe that he was in this situation. Being teamed with those two. He hoped he survived them. There was a mission to be done and he had to accomplish it. Even if it cost him his life. For the sake of Konoha. He glanced back at the two. He knew, if he did something contrary to what they were supposed to do and something that would damage the mission, these two were not going to let it slide. He had a feeling they'd even kill him. Sasuke seemed to be the type who was disagreeable. Either way, they worked well together. Something wrong. Naruto's voice. Sai glanced at the blonde. He was right at him. Those sharp eyes staring at him dangerously. He shook his head while looking ahead. No. Then don't ponder too much. We are not that bad people that we kill you. No, scratch that. Naruto was the dangerous one. Sasuke was just aggressive. But the blonde was the type to kill you with a smile. Jiraiya had been right, Hiruzen looked frail. But much like the Sandaime Chuchikage. It was just worse for the old man compared to how imposing he'd once been. After all, he was the genius who mastered the use of all 5 basic elements. Despite her genius in medical ninjutsu, even she couldn't compare to the genius of Hiruzen. Looking at him was just laughable. To think he was the same person who trained the legendary Sannin. What remained was a mere shadow of his former self. There was no power to respect. The fact that the village still bowed to him was just a testament to how great he had been. Tsunade stared for a moment, watching him drag himself through the mountain of work he has been doing for generations now. She honestly pitied him, a student of both the Nadaime and Shodai Hokage. It was remarkable that their legacy still lived on. And yet, while his legacy still lived, it was nothing he could point to succeed him. Hence he carried on with this mountainous work that would surely kill him, as it did with everyone. She was even shocked that he has been able to live this long. Tsunade, Hiruzen spoke in a light tone, an aged smile. I wasn't expecting to see you. In all truth, he had not seen her in over a year, even though she was in the village. She mostly passed the message through Shizune. And the village had welcomed her with much fanfare when she returned. But Hiruzen wasn't going to force her into a situation she didn't want. As long as she could help with the next generation, then he had no reason to complain. But truly, she looked the part. You'd not think she was Jiraiya's age looking at her. There was nothing for me to do, so I buried myself into the little work you gave me, the slug princess said as she settled down. She wasn't going to admit she'd hardly slept working on it. I take it you have some results then. Hiruzen leaned back to his chair, and stared at Tsunade expectedly. Tsunade didn't get into it. You really don't have anyone to take the position from you. Hiruzen smiled bitterly with a slight shake of his head. No, my students refuse to do so. My son isn't strong enough. Not that we've always had the best of relationships, there is Kakashi. Young and still useful as a shinobi than as a kage. Unsurprisingly, there is nothing good that comes from desiring that position. Your grandfather would disagree with that. Good things came out. We all have different circumstances that we must fight. It is how we go through them and if we're able to see the future. The young ones have aspirations. Untested, but they dream. He thought of Naruto and then smiled. You should take a page from Naruto. His parents died in the service of this mantle, and yet, he continues to live a shinobi. Tsunade snorted. He is a Jinchuriki. He had no other choice but to become a shinobi. Hiruzen shook his head. Tsunade, you should know better. None of Konoha's previous Jinchuriki were ever forced to use that power. They become Jinchuriki merely to contain the power not use. The same could have happened to Naruto. He chose to become a shinobi and as long as I lived, he wouldn't have been forced to live otherwise. How noble of you. But then again, Konoha had never been in a position to need the power of a Buu. Not very noble when you consider how I have failed him. Hiruzen waved his hand. He knew she was being sarcastic but felt the need to respond. As you can see, I have a lot of work. Get to why you came here so I can return to my work. It was going to be like this, huh? For some reason, this irked Tsunade. She was even talking to the old man about this ever since he made the pitch to her and she refused. He hadn't bothered again. And showed no interest in trying to force things. He would surely rip his robes and throw the hat at her if she suddenly said she would succeed him. But he wasn't doing anything. She should be happy, but the thought frustrated her. There is something I don't understand. Naruto didn't become a bloodline user because of Orochimaru. He was born that way. Orochimaru couldn't have possibly known that. But that is the truth. His Mokuton use isn't the result of Orochimaru's experiments. Hiruzen was genuinely surprised. Then again, with the notes that he did read written by Kabuto, the man had pondered on this thought but it had not been tested because it wasn't in Orochimaru's agenda. From some of the notes we had, Orochimaru's number 2 expressed such a thought, saying none of Orochimaru's subjects displayed the same reception as Naruto when it came to Hashirama's cells. There was some negative at first, but it worked out in the end. But how? Tsunade shook her head. I do not know. He is not the same as my grandfather. You have to understand that my grandfather didn't inherit his bloodline from anyone. Nor did his children inherit it. Hiruzen absorbed this for a couple of moments before nodding. Then what was Orochimaru doing? That is the difficult part. His Uzumaki DNA remains, but Naruto has both the Senju and Uchiha DNA in him. It used my cells and Sasuke's cells to match this. The DNA structure is similar. As for his healing powers, it has to do with being Uzumaki in the cells of my grandfather. It's normal. I do not know about the way he heals using the Kyuubi's chakra. He says life-threatening wounds are healed by it. He told me that he once had a Chidori pierce through his chest and it healed quickly. He doesn't have a single scar on him. This type of healing may have negative consequences on his life force. He may end up living a normal lifespan. But I do not know yet. I'll need to study things further. Hiruzen nodded. Will there be any adverse effects on anything Orochimaru did? Tsunade shook her head. I don't know everything. His body is complicated. Secrets that must not be told anyone. It however seems like there is no problem with him at all. That is the good part. I want Naruto to live a long life. Hiruzen said with relief. Nobody must indeed know about this. Very few even know Naruto was in the hands of Orochimaru. Even your students must not know this. If Naruto is fine, you will continue with things. I understand. I'm curious about his healing ability. Like this, Tsunade pointed at her forehead. It is almost like Naruto can't die in battle, as long as there is chakra. I don't think other Bijuas work in the same way. The Kyuubi's chakra works positively with my grandfather's cells. It in fact seems to strengthen it. With Mokuton, it does the same. The latter is by Naruto's admission. He said this mostly has to do with yang release. How many sessions did you have with him? 3. Is he around? No, on a mission. Hiruzen said. I didn't think Naruto understood yang energy that well. I'll need to talk to him about it. But I can understand this reaction. What? Beiyu chakra is based on yin and yang chakra. Minato split the Kyuubi into 2. I assume the part in Naruto is yang chakra. Yang chakra is full of vitality and gives life to forms. Yin and yang can manipulate life. Hiruzen became thoughtful. Did Naruto say anything about this? No. Okay. I'll have to talk to him when he returns. But thank you, Tsunade. One more thing. I believe Naruto already knows about this. And from what he told me, Orochimaru believes that Senju and Uchiha originated from the Sage of Six Paths. He thought combining both powers could reawaken the Rinnegan and perhaps recreate the power of the Sage. I told you that Naruto is still Uzumaki, but the 3 components are acclimating into one. Soon, he will not be Uzumaki, but a different being altogether. Unknown location. Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto said, getting the attention of his master, who was sitting on his throne, at a hideout within the outskirts of Konoha. Orochimaru's eyes turned toward Kabuto. Is everything ready? Yes. Both Naruto and Sasuke are already at the sound. It seems that Danzo did his part and the decoys managed to deceive Jiraiya's people. It was well when things came into fruition. But Danzo had to be watched. He was the first person who advocated into his killing after he fled from Konoha. And given what he knew, it was only reasonable to assume that if he showed a moment of weakness, Danzo was going to try to put a dagger on his spine, just to tie loose ends. Aside from Danzo, there was nothing to worry about. It is a pity we won't get to see Naruto-kun in action. I would have liked to see him fight. In this case, it would have been to our disadvantage. Kabuto pointed out. Yes. Orochimaru paused, coughing. Kabuto took a worried expression as he moved closer to his master. The current host was reaching the end of a lifetime. His master needed to find a new host soon. If he was going to battle, the host would quickly wear out. Should we have called Gurren ahead of time? We can still use her. Though, I doubt she would be willing to leave that boy alone. But her opinion in the matter isn't required. We don't need her, for now. We need her to watch the hideout. Just in case Danzo tries something. After this, we can use her. She will be a good host, this body can hold on, for now. Orochimaru replied confidently. sound. Naruto glanced at Sasuke and then looked back at the burning flames. They'd been sitting around the fire for a while now. It was still early morning. The sun still to turn up. The birds still sleeping in their nests. Sai had already departed to meet up with his contact. It was supposed to have occurred yesterday, but there were some delays that Sai hadn't been willing to discuss. They couldn't move. Neither knew which hideout to attack. If they just attacked one, the others would most definitely know something was up and then flee. That aside, Naruto didn't have a particularly good feeling about this. Sai had been gone since midnight. He was supposed to have returned by now. Hence they were wide awake, ready to strike while their opponents enjoyed the comfort of the morning. Shrugging off his discomfort, Naruto spoke to Sasuke. How is your vision? Sasuke's eyes fell on him sharply. He didn't immediately respond, as if he wondered what Naruto was talking about. It dawned on him and his eyes narrowed. Playing ignorant wasn't going to do him any good. Fine. Really? How do you know about that? I was with a junkie obsessed about the Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto replied with a shrug. Orochimaru's obsession with those eyes was truly sad. A pity, humiliation only compounded his misery. But on the bright side, just farther affirmed just how impressive those eyes were. Naruto had to applaud himself over how easily such a tale formed in this mind. For someone who hated lies, he was rather good at telling them. He was being a hypocrite and he blamed Itachi for putting him in such a situation. He comforted himself in that he'd never claimed to be a saint. Nothing as yet. It admittedly puts a lot of strain in my eyes. But the power was worth it. The strain. Not becoming blind. What happens when you become blind? Sasuke didn't want to think about it. But if he was suffering, then Itachi's vision had to be worse. That was a good thing for him. He could have an advantage. And he would use it in his battle. Itachi has had these eyes for years now. If he wasn't blind already, then he could barely see. He wondered if that was the same for Kakashi. The Jonin didn't seem to have any problems. But then again, nobody displayed their weakness. It was bad that Naruto knew about this weakness. Who else knows? Don't worry. Your secret is safe with me, Naruto said with a grin. You can take Itachi's eyes, that is if he doesn't take yours. He is already blind. Naruto shook his head. You don't read much of your clan's secrets, do you? It amazes me since you already knew how the Mangekyo Sharingan could be awakened. Sasuke glared at Naruto. If you implant the eyes someone close to you, blood-related, you achieve the perfect eyes that put no strain, Naruto said. You Uchiha could have become a clan that practices cannibalism if everyone in the clan could awaken the Sharingan and the Mangekyo. Alas, very few do, or used. How is that a bad thing? Naruto shrugged. It would have vindicated the many thoughts many people have about the Uchiha. I know your clan has always had the suspicion of the village. But perhaps this was due to the second Hokage. People are truly envious of power. Then again, if I lived with people who could control me with genjutsu, I would be wary. Not every Sharingan can do that. Some are just powerful with genjutsu. And not all abilities are the same. That was true. Naruto had never really taken that to mind. Kakashi's ability was not the same with any of Itachi. It was a space-time jutsu. A very curious ability. Shisui's eye was also different. It was blessed with a powerful genjutsu. Though, even Itachi could lay claim to this. He was an expert with genjutsu. Just not in the same manipulative level as Shisui's eye. He had to keep an eye on this. What is unique about yours? I'm not going to tell you that. Don't be stingy like that. Naruto said, looking up. How I envy you. Susanoo looks like something from Legends. A remarkable power that makes you stand out. Sasuke wasn't going to admit his happiness in hearing Naruto say that. You have not seen what it can do. You refuse to train with me. I need to get the best of it. I'm not going to help you better me. What kind of a rival would I be if I was helping you? In fact, I hope Itachi gouges your eyes out and leaves you blind. At least some people will be able to talk. Naruto said, staring straight at Sasuke's eyes. I don't know if you really mean that. Naruto laughed. Take a guess. Though, it would be laughable if you really became blind. How would the mighty Uchiha even grace the streets without his Sharingan? That man isn't going to take my eyes. I am going to take his and avenge my clan. That's the spirit. And I'll be cheering you on. You can't afford to take defeat. I'll laugh at you until you kick the bucket if I have to end up saving you when you can't even avenge your clan against a man you've hated for almost your entire life. Sasuke winced just at the thought. He could imagine it. Naruto mocking him. Even his parents would be disappointed in him. He could not fail. He would not fail. He would make Itachi pay. Not going to happen. Of course, Your Majesty, Naruto replied with a smile. I'll help you when we get back. I'm sure Itachi has had time to practice over the years. Sasuke smiled, as small as it was still a smile. You can't hold anything back. Of course. Naruto said with a nod. Sasuke knew what he too could do. If Sai isn't back by sunset, we'll have to search for him. We don't know what he might be doing at this stage. And we already have our mission. I shouldn't have let him go alone. Sasuke said. A mission. We have to think about our mission, and he said he had to meet with his contact. We are already in enemy territory. A risk like that had to be taken. How are we going to find him? Sasuke asked with a frown. They were in a country and didn't know where he had gone. Worse, neither were especially good at tracking. I have a trick for that. Sasuke activated his Sharingan to be able to see what Naruto was doing. The blonde had refused to tell him what trick he would employ to track down Sai. His teammate then went down, placing his hand on the ground with his eyes closed. Sasuke could see him channeling chakra through the ground. After a minute or so, his eyes snapped open and then he got up. Got him. If you could track someone like this, you could have told me already and we would have found Itachi already. Sasuke said with a glare. Naruto shook his head. I can't do it in places like a village. Too many chakra signatures to focus on. And there is a limit on how far I can search. Sai isn't far from us. Actually, he is far closer than I thought he'd be, and he isn't alone. What is doing? Can't tell, but he's not moving. I'd hate it if he were just keeping us waiting. For what purpose would he have to keep us waiting? Naruto shook his head. The thought is ridiculous. But we have to move discreetly. He has some of his pests positioned not far from us. Likely knows if they are close, we'd notice. So, kept them just in case we moved. Naruto created 2 clones. The other transformed into Sasuke. Let's go. He was getting impatient. His fellow Uzumaki was already waiting for him anyway. And Kabuto. How he wished he could get his hands on that glassy bastard, tear him to pieces, or maybe just jab of some things they would find in Orochimaru's hideouts and let him live like a monster or an animal, as he and his master have made other people. Someone is here. Sai was alerted. A second later, both Naruto and Sasuke landed below the tree he sat. How they found him was a question he asked inwardly. Neither were senses as far as he was concerned. The Sharingan didn't operate like the Byakugan. Hello hello. While Naruto greeted with a smile and a wave, Sasuke just glared sharply at him. Why did you follow? You were gone for quite a while. We had to worry. We are already behind schedule. Sai was silent for a couple of moments before responding. I'm still waiting for someone to arrive. We don't know which hideout Kabuto is located. I thought you knew. Didn't you go out to meet someone who knew? Why did you have to leave us behind? Sasuke demanded. I had to go to the sound capital. Sai replied quickly. They are here, but we can't just move. We must time everything or else they will escape. Naruto looked around. Didn't seem like there was anything funny. But still, this waiting game was becoming a bore. He is your fellow Root, isn't he? Yes. Naruto sighed. I hope nothing turns into smoke, for your sake. Meaning, Danzo told us he knew what was happening and you were to lead us to the right place because intel was spot on. I've already gotten excited over getting my hands on Kabuto. We aren't supposed to kill him. I never said anything about killing. We are to take him back to the village alive. They never said in what condition. As long as he can talk, he should be fine, Naruto replied indifferently. So, how long must we wait? Izumo had been warned by Anbu that things could get dangerous today and they would have to be on the watch out through the day and be ready for anything. The usual suspects at the gates were those who tried to sneak in with fake papers and those who were simply taking chances. What he had not been expecting was for a horde of snakes to charge to the village. Had it been one, he may have attempted to stop it, but it wasn't just one. There were more than 20 large snakes that could swallow more than 100 men whole and still demand for more. 3 of the monstrous creatures hissed their way into the village. They slammed into the buildings along the way, destroying the buildings. And then the unthinkable happened. While people cried, trying to escape the falling buildings and flying debris, the snakes started spitting out shinobi. It was then that he realized the village was under attack. His eyes turned into his partner in crime. The man was already pushing for the gates to close, to stop more of those damn hissing reptiles from crawling into the village. He jumped into the walls, watching. Around the walls, more large snakes were trying to climb. As if prepared, shinobi were hopping through the rooftops, getting ready for battle. No, the battle had already begun. It was going to be chaos. He never thought he would live to see the day where someone would be brave enough to attack the leaf. His beloved home. What you gawking at? Kotetsu shouted at him. He looked down, the gates were closed. Boom. A snake slammed into the gate. He hoped there was no Bayou. How would the village survive another trauma like that? Especially at this time when their own Jinchuriki was out of the village. Boom. They were slamming into the gates. Kotetsu was sweating bullets now. Izumo knew any more of this and the gates would probably not hold on. Behind them, roars of battle were already started. It was like the enemy was already within the village. How that was possible baffled him. Anbu flashed past him, standing above the walls, with the gates below. Rather impressively, they launched lightning attacks toward the snakes. In a puff of smoke, after hisses of pain, the snakes disappeared. The realization dawned on him, Orochimaru. He was the only known snake summoner. And most likely the one with the power to launch this daring attack. He jumped down to Kotetsu. Sorry, he apologized for his days. We can't stay here. We need to jump and try to save civilians, usher them to safety. Kotetsu pointed at the immediate buildings where the snakes had crashed and where the enemy shinobi had started attacking. Without warning, both dashed toward the target in the comfort that with the gates closed, no more snakes would enter the village. Earlier, Hiruzen would have appreciated it if the daimyo didn't come to the village. It was a nuisance. He always had to take time and effort to ensure he was safe. He came with his own guards. But the problem was that this was hardly the right time. Especially when he was pressed like this. At least, he wasn't with his advisors. On his own, he was agreeable and easy to deal with. But surrounded by those political hyenas of the capital, it was a different matter altogether. It was for that reason Hiruzen was loath to visit the capital, even when summoned. Is the Minato's son around? Hiruzen shook his head. He has gone on a mission. Couldn't it have waited? I wanted to see him. The Fire Nation once had a good position with other great nations due to his father. When I see others, they must know that the Fire Nation has returned to its former glory. Hiruzen didn't frown. He just smiled, but inwardly, he was frowning. This was the kind of madness that led to wars. The daimyo bickered needlessly and then sent them into bloody wars while sitting at the comfort of their homes, guarded by shinobi. When Chunin exams came, they bothered to come, just to make bets. It had to do with a fellow clansman. It couldn't wait. Hiruzen replied. And the young Uchiha. The Earth Lord complained much and admitted his jealousy when I last saw him. Surely the Earth Lord saw Sasuke at the Chunin exams. An intended consequence outside, but he didn't expect it to have an effect in the country. They left together. There are some is. Boom. An explosion stopped Hiruzen from talking. Within a second, an Anbu had already dropped by his side, whispering. While the daimyo just blinked with surprise, his guards stepped into the office but Hiruzen didn't bother with them. Get Jiraiya in here and make sure Shikaku is on top of the situation to give orders. I will join the battle. Hiruzen ordered. Hi, is there something wrong? It appears there is an attack on the village, Hiruzen replied in a serious tone. He waved his right hand, and an Anbu appeared. Take the feudal lord and his guard to safety. Hi. Hiruzen's expression became flat. He disappeared off to the top of the Hokage Tower and observed what was happening. His eyes turned toward the gate. He could hear battle cries, the sounds of battles beginning. Civilians crying in fear. This wasn't expected. He never thought he would be able to live to see an invasion in the Hidden Leaf. How had this even happened? What is the situation? A squad of Anbu surrounded him, all four kneeling. The leader was the one who spoke. Sooner and the Sound have launched an attack. Some were brought in through by the snakes. Some appeared to have already been in the village. And some we have no idea how they came. Some traveled, bypassing the scouts in the outskirts of the village. And Kazekage. There is no sign of him. We have not located Orochimaru either. Find him. And the Jinchuriki. The Kazekage's youngest son is a Jinchuriki. Find him quickly. If he were to transform, it would damage the village quickly. Send out orders for all genin to be moved to safety along with civilians. The Chunin must help out the safe passage. Shikaku will relay strategy. I will face Orochimaru once you have located him. Hi. 3 disappeared and 1 remained. A moment later, Jiraiya appeared. Sensei, I will deal with Orochimaru and his summons. You need to stay here to command things. Hiruzen shook his head. Had he been willing then? Had he taken a decision, he would have stopped Orochimaru. He wouldn't have sent Kakashi. He would have done it himself. Orochimaru was his problem and he would deal with it. Deal with the summons. We have a Jinchuriki to worry about. Jiraiya frowned at this. We are looking for him. It is going to be a disaster if he appears, the clone said in a serious tone. It's bad when it's happening with our Jinchuriki absent. A suspicious occurrence. But we cannot focus on it. Make sure both Naruto and Sasuke get the message. They are to return immediately. Naruto will be easy. The toads can reverse summon him. Sasuke will have to travel. Just get it done. If anything happens to me, execute Danzo. He has something to do with the daimyo appearing now. Are you sure? Yes. Kuchio's no jutsu. Jiraiya's rallying call as he summoned the toads into battle. And to think he would summon them over an attack by none other than Orochimaru. It wasn't the Sandaime alone who had blundered. He too. There were many times he came across Orochimaru and he didn't do anything. He'd even tried to bring the Sannin back to Konoha. A hopeless cause if action. But friendship sometimes compelled one to do that. This was a step too far. Something that could never be forgiven. Already, he had taken Naruto. And now this. Not forgetting he kidnapped hundreds of kids in the village just to experiment on them. Why have you summoned me, Jiraiya? Gamabunta demanded the moment he appeared in a puff of smoke. Jiraiya didn't have to answer the question. Immediately, he sensed the presence of the damn slithering reptiles and went on alarm. Konoha was under attack. Manda was probably around. It didn't take time for him to spot the dark creature hissing as it crushed buildings, charging toward them. Anbu chased after it, trying to burn it alive with Kaiten Jutsu. But it must slid away from them. Bruh, I hate that damn snake, Gamabunta said withdrawing his sword. You owe me after this, Jiraiya. That isn't the worst of our problems. We could be facing up to the one-tailed Beiyu. Another Beiyu. Minato summoned me to hold down the Kyuubi. You want me to get killed? Shukaku is murderous and crazy. He quickly held up his sword as Manda threw himself at him. He positioned it carefully in front of him and the snake crashed into it with its head. Orochimaru sat pretty atop, a wide grin on his lips. Manda hissed, his forked tongue escaped from his mouth. Gamabunta quickly jumped back. He didn't want the crawling insect to spit out poison from close range. Jiraiya glared at Orochimaru. It was good that their sensei wasn't around here yet. He was going to want to face this person. Jiraiya could face him. The buildings were burning. Battles were already resulting in deaths. Some snakes had already passed the walls and were laying siege in the village. It was just pure destruction. There was no other intention aside from destroying things. Orochimaru was truly intent on trying to destroy the leaf. There wasn't a lot of manpower behind. But the summons and the Beiyu were making things complicated. How low you have fallen, Orochimaru. To attack the village that made you. I can't believe you would do this to sensei. Kukukaku. Orochimaru laughed. Don't be surprised now, Jiraiya-kun. You were planning on killing me. I decided to do the most sensible thing. And it was sensei's decision that I should be killed. If you think you're capable of destroying Konoha, you have one thing coming for you, Orochimaru. Jiraiya jumped down, taking a stance. Go deal with the other snakes. They are causing more problems. He said to the toads. I'm clumsy, so they might slip through, the other toad said before jumping away. You want to handle both Manda and Orochimaru. I can handle them. If push comes, I will use Sage Mode. I cannot let the destruction continue, and allow Orochimaru to escape this village with his life, Jiraiya said in a serious tone, hands held together. Don't be all cocky. Gamabunta shouted, but he understood and departed from the scene, heading straight toward the village gates. I would love to fool around with you, Jiraiya, and finish the job I should have done long ago, but you're not my opponent. Orochimaru said, folding his hands. Deal with him, he said to Manda. You ordering me around, Orochimaru? Kukukaku, Orochimaru laughed. I'm making a request. I will pay, of course. Don't forget. You still owe me from last time. There is plenty in this village. I will deliver, Orochimaru said, trying to jump away, but Jiraiya jumped toward him. He didn't look back. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes toward his right, seeing Manda's tail cutting through the air as it flashed toward him. It was going to hurt if it hit him. But this momentarily lapse in concentration was enough for Orochimaru to make his escape. Before the tail could hit him, Jiraiya held out both his hands, positioning his body to face it. As it was about to hit him, both hands touched the tail, using it to flip in midair while avoiding the swing. He quickly disappeared and landed on the rooftop, staring at the large snake, wondering how the hell he was going to deal with it quick enough to chase after Orochimaru. He couldn't leave it. It would just go on a destruction spree. The Anbu were busy cleaning up the walls of the other snakes, and they were doing it swiftly. It was just the ones within the village. Not that many of them. With the toads in the scene, this would be over quickly. The shortest invasion ever recorded. Orochimaru was a fool to think this would result in Konoha being destroyed. Tsunade hopped through buildings, rushing toward the hospital. She couldn't just sit still and watch the village get burnt. Not while she was still alive. But the main concern was the hospital. With things happening right in the village like this, there would be an influx of the wounded. Both shinobi and civilians. It wouldn't be out of the picture for some to even target it. In war, medical camps always sat behind battle lines. Shinobi kept coming and going. Destroy it and you stop the enemy from healing their wounded. But in a village, the effect would be devastating. She crash-landed right in front of the hospital. The Anbu had already taken positions to defend it. People were already being moved out. It was a precaution just in case something happened. If they used a building like this, it would be disastrous not only to the wounded but the medics if the building was to go down. Behind her, a large snake hissed as it charged toward the entrance. Tsunade cursed. Damn Orochimaru. He was forcing her into this situation and the village that was once home to him. Their sensei was going to be heartbroken. May even die as a result. Her right hand glowed with chakra before firmly planting her right foot on the ground. She twisted, lashing toward the rushing snake. Her fist collided with its head. The snake hissed painfully after its movements were brought into a complete halt by Tsunade's fist. The slug princess looked away as the snake exploded into a shower of blood. When another shinobi jumped at her from behind, she turned around quickly, landing a brutal punch on his chest. She heard the sound of bones snapping on contact. The shinobi yelped, spitting out blood before flying away from her. It was just out of frustration that she punched so hard. She turned toward the hospital. The lobby was crowded with the wounded. Anbu were kneeling in all corners. Most likely ready to hold the floor in place in case the building exploded. Shizune and Sakura were upon her in a second. How is it? Mostly poison, Shizune replied in a hurried tone. It is making things complicated because poison takes too much time, unlike wounds. It was so like Orochimaru. At least he hadn't poisoned the entire village. Sakura, go out into the battlefield. Shizune and I will manage the wounded. She was more than capable of fighting. Her strength was needed there in the first place. Hi, Master. Sakura was quick to rush away. Perhaps a little too excited to display her strength to the village and her teammates. A pity, none of them were around. But that wasn't the most important agenda at the moment. Smashing as many snakes and enemy shinobi as she could was the point of her rushing out of the hospital. Once Sakura was gone, Tsunade walked out and then bit her thumb, drawing out blood. Kuchio's no jutsu. Temari worried, looking at how things were going. Sure, the hidden leaf was in panic mode. Buildings were exploding. Shinobi were battling along the walls. Remarkably, the village had reacted fast enough to push out those who had been smuggled into the village from the streets and toward the walls. The horde of snakes that would have certainly destroyed Suna now had their numbers dwindling. It wasn't looking good for them. Her worry was Gaara. Maybe when he appeared, the scales would be tipped to their favor once more. Kankuro nervously shifted as he watched the raging battles. Do you know when Gaara is going to attack? Shouldn't he be already? Temari didn't like that he was going to be used like this. But this was basically war. Whether she agreed or disagreed with it was another matter. But if he transformed, surely it would be their victory. I wonder what is taking things long. Things are not exactly according to plan. Baki appeared behind the two siblings before Temari could respond to Kankuro. Listen to me, I want you two to go to a safe place. Be ready to escape if we start losing. Konoha won't forgive this if we fail to pull through. No doubt, there would be severe consequences. But they still had to do this for the survival of the hidden sand. But what worried Baki was that they couldn't find their leader. He'd come with them, but then he'd suddenly disappeared. If the children of the Kazekage survived, then Suna could still have a future. We can't leave without Gaara. Temari responded firmly. I'm saying be in the safe place. I will see what I can do. I can't even find your father. But just be ready for anything. Leave this place, he instructed in a cold tone. Kakashi ducked under a swinging kick, lifting both his hands. He grabbed the leg and then rose quickly, lifting the man as he twisted around. He hurled the man toward another and jumped away to avoid a flashing kunai without watching the man collide with a fellow sound shinobi. The Jonin landed a distance away, and then darted toward a group of 4 who were ready to face him. The 4 didn't wait on him, they too charged. They all stabbed him with kunai. 2 on his shoulders, 2 more around his waist. He then burst into flames, taking out the 4. Konoha Senpu. The loud voice of his friend. Kakashi twisted around from the roof of the academy. He was only able to witness the Jonin plant his foot to the face of Suna Nin. The man yelped as he was sent flying away by the taijutsu master. You should be more careful, my eternal rival. Guy cautioned Kakashi. I had it covered. Kakashi replied with a shrug. Still, who would have thought Suna would attack them? Especially at a time where some of their best shinobi had just departed from the village. It was almost like this was planned. How had they even managed to make it into the village without anyone knowing? How had some managed to even hide within the village walls? Inside job. But who? Someone in power. It just smelled. Kakashi didn't think Danzo would be corrupt enough to go this far. He wasn't forgetting the had once ordered him to try to kill the Sandaime Hokage for his own benefit, selling it as for the good of Konoha. Konoha was going to survive, but it would have felt this. Lives have already been lost. The buildings were still crumbling after snakes went on a rampage. But you really cannot trust anyone, can you? That is not the most important thing at the moment. We have to secure the village. Indeed, Ino was leading a group of civilians through to the emergency shelters. She was a little glad she wasn't in the battle zones. Only Jonin were the ones fighting. The lowly ones were doing the easy jobs. This was being a Kunoichi. She would have been out there, fighting in the midst of explosions, hissing of snakes. A fight to protect her village. But this was still an important job. Sakura was either at the hospital or fighting even when she was of the same rank. What of Shikamaru? Was he fine? And Chuji? She hadn't seen him since the battle started. She worried. She hadn't even seen her mother either. Duty came first, or so she'd been told. She came to a halt when she heard the hissing sound, a shadow above them. A snake was crashing down at them as if it had been flung over. Before it crashed on them, a giant toad landed beside. Its giant feet flung dust toward her, forcing her to shield her eyes to avoid temporary blindness. She then looked up, the toad was swinging its huge blade. The blade cut through the snake as if it were butter. The snake was cut in half. She heard the Anbu shouting jutsu. The other piece was hit by lightning jutsu. So powerful the piece was completely erased. The other by a fire jutsu. The toad jumped away without warning, leaving her with her crowd. An Anbu dropped beside her. To the hospital. The woman behind the mask said. Go to the hospital. Danzo stared down at the group of men kneeling in front of him and then said. Our time has arrived to step out of the shadows. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.